I'm just. All right, we're just gonna have to turn this around. And the people are gonna have to watch from my camera. If the connector from this is not working. For the camera. Okay, so we are late and it is 5:40. And we are, right now, before we start our regular town council meeting, today is January 21st, and we have Sheriff Nate Brooksby, the Washington County Sheriff, here to talk to us. He is here for a Q&A session from local residents and from the town council members if we have any questions. And with this new town hall that we're going to be setting up in the LDS church, the old LDS church that we bought, the sheriff would like to have a substation. And so some people have some questions about what's involved in a substation. So
Okay,
want you to just answer whatever questions people have about what it is you would do with a substation.
okay.
Okay.
Just by way of a brief introduction for somebody that don't know me, usually when I'm in these meetings, I'm addressing the council, but since it's a Q&A, I'm gonna kind of go 50-50.
Yeah.
So I'm Sheriff Nate Brooksby. I've been the Washington County Sheriff for about 3 years now. I went to preschool in Washington County, so I say I'm a lifelong resident, even though I was born in Mesa, Arizona. I've been with the Sheriff's Office since 1999. Prior to that, I started with Washington City in 96, so I'm about 28 years in, just as many as Lieutenant Crop back there. But I've worked patrol, corrections, investigations. I was a bomb technician for 16 years, a SWAT guy for 16 years, hazmat technician. So I've really kind of done a lot of everything throughout my career. I do really appreciate the relationship that we have with the town of Virgin. Mayor and Crystal, we meet at least a couple times a year. But with that, I deal with Enterprise, Cokerville, Leeds, Apple Valley. And part of that is you're a small community, you're not gonna be able to afford a police department anytime soon, I'll be dead. By the time you're ready to afford that. So the solution we put up with is kind of a la carte. So as you grow, I'm good to say, I'm never gonna sell the town anything you don't need. So as you grow, we'll just continue to look at contract time hours. So statutorily, as the sheriff, I have to respond to calls for service, but I don't have to respond, like do proactive police work unless you're unincorporated. So since you're incorporated as a town, I'm not obligated to do that. So to satisfy that, we do a contract for about $15,000 with Virgin, and that gives you like 8 to 10 hours of focused patrol time in Virgin. So the 2024, we had 400 calls for service, but about 350 of those we're documenting anytime a deputy is doing contract patrol time in Virgin. So they're creating a call. So 350 of those calls tell me that 350 days in 2024, we had a deputy doing contract patrol time in Virgin. So actual calls for service like DUIs, domestic violence, juvenile problems, animal problems, which you guys seem to have a lot of in Virgin. We're actually about 400 calls for service. So about 350 for the patrol time, and then about 400 total actual calls that we've been dispatched to or proactively created. In reference to the substation, because we're rural, we have 2,500 square miles of Washington County to cover, from Enterprise to Hilldale to New Harmony, all of Zion National Park. We're based in Hurricane out by the fairgrounds in the DMV. So that's the only office that we have. It's convenient for our deputies not to have to go to the office to do a report, even though all the deputies have laptops. But if they have to drop off evidence, or if they have to, all of us wear like body cameras, we have in-car video system, and all that footage has to be dumped into a server at the office. So if we can get into this space and we have data capabilities, the deputy doesn't have to drive all the way back into our office. They can download their body camera and in-car video. They can take a break. They can do reports. So the benefit the community gets is you see a marked patrol unit in your community on a regular basis, and it gives that deputy a place to maybe go and take a break, do some reports. The other benefit, so we just look at Crystal and I just were over the other space. There's 2 rooms that they're looking at giving us, so one would be a space where the deputies could do reports, take a break. And then the other room would be more like if a citizen needed to come in to fill out a witness statement, or if we need to interview a victim, it would save that individual from having to drive down by the fairgrounds to meet up with us. So that's an immediate benefit. I can see obviously response times. If we're up here, we're gonna see a reduced time of those response times as well. So. Does anybody have any concerns about go ahead.
Just a question.
Okay. I'm gonna bring it up there.
Okay, what other towns, I don't know if this is working. What other towns are you in now with office space?
So right now, Enterprise is kind of unique because we have a full-time school resource officer that's there. During the school year, he's there all day long. But then in the summertime, he focuses his patrol time up, kind of like Central North on SR 18. The other areas, so we have that space in Enterprise, basically at the school. And then the other areas that aren't real, they're just not real, it's a space, like Central Fire Station. They have a bathroom there, they have a desk there, they have internet, they have a refrigerator, so usually are nice to keep like drinks and snacks for us in there. So that's an area that we use, and then also Pine Valley Fire Station. So that we really don't have anything east of the sheriff's office on the east side of the county.
And through time, have you experienced any issues with being in those particular locations that caused you problems or caused community problems?
No, I see it as a benefit to the community. They have that law enforcement presence. We say quite often in law enforcement, we just driving through neighborhoods, we'll never know how many crimes we've prevented just being visible in the community. It's true. So.
You in Apple Valley too?
Apple Valley, we do concentrated patrol time up there as well. I think it's they're about the same, about a $15,000 annual cost for that patrol time. They have a lot of problems on 59, just the traffic out there. UDOT's done some pretty good improvement to widen shoulders and create some more passing lanes. A lot of our fatality head-on collisions out there on 59 because people just get impatient. You're traveling to Lake Powell or to camp or back, and you get stuck behind one RV doing 800 the speed limit, and people get really impatient. Cars start to, stack up behind that RV, and then somebody that's impatient wants to pass 4 or 5 cars at once in a spot they shouldn't. We end up with a bad accident. So go ahead.
Quickly, who is responsible for patrolling Sheep Bridge Road? Is that you guys?
We are
That is a speed zone times 10.
Yeah, and it's dirt, wait till it gets paved.
I know, it's gonna get worse.
So
That's
it's
why
gonna
it's
get
dirt.
worse. So we have, right now, we have regular deputies, but then in 2020, when COVID was in and Nevada and California shut down, we saw that huge influx of tourism come into Washington County. I went on a drive with the commissioners. We're having problems up at Kolob, Sheep's Bridge Road, Warner Valley. If the Gunlock Falls are running, that's a mess with 3,000 people up on the rocks. We usually end up with a couple of deaths when those are flowing because people like to jump in and they don't know that there's a big boulder right underneath the water. So our solution then was to add, we do like rural patrol. We're calling it backcountry deputies. So they do like desert reserve land that we contract with the desert reserve people to do patrol in that area, but then with all that influx of tourism, you see hundreds of campers off Sheep Bridge Road, right? And they would stay for months at a time. We have a guy, I don't know who he is, but he walks that that road quite often, and he'll report to my deputies which campers have been there for over the allotted legal time. But it is us, it is BLM ground, so there are some BLM rangers out there, but they are limited in what they can do. They deal with federal law, not Utah state law. So primarily, Sheep's Bridge is my issue.
Same thing with dispersed camping for Co-op.
Correct. Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah, so, but if you think I have 2,500 square miles, and on a regular day shift, if I'm lucky, I'll have 7 guys out. And some of those are doing so that doesn't include detectives or drug task force guys or drug court guys. That's actually uniformed patrol guys who are out patrolling the county, responding to calls for service and doing proactive patrol. But yeah, so Sheep's Bridge is mine, and we can spend, it's a time thing, right? So it's, I think when that road's paved, it sounds like the funding's approved for that, so it's gonna happen.
Just one suggestion, why don't you just put up one of those flashing signs showing the speed limit? I think that would help immensely.
Yeah, so that's something county roads would do, since that's not actually part of the town of Virgin, that would be a responsibility. But I think some of that will probably be necessary for, once the asphalt comes in. Like I said, it's bad now, it's dirt, it's gonna get worse when the asphalt comes in.
When is that? When's the asphalt?
Right now, so it's congressional funding, it started with Chris Stewart's office, now it's Celeste Malloy. That funding is gonna become available in March. And then I don't know how long the bid process is gonna take, we're government, so we have to put it out for bids and all that stuff, so but it's, the wheel's gonna turn slowly, but I know it's inevitable.
If you're a debit type, I have ways of reminding people to drive slower.
Yeah, I think you can do that as a private citizen and not make that, but I don't think, we see that, people considering doing speed bumps at Pocketville, because that's. Out of any place that people complain about speed, it seems to be Pocketville Road. When Matt was in here, he was like, well, can't you call Google and tell them to, when people are navigating, not to have them go up Pocketville Road and go to the next exit? The big new intersection, right, Colab Terrace Road? I said, yeah, I don't have that kind of pull with Google, so. Yeah, Google Maps, right?
We did something, there was a speed trap on a 15 today, that was pretty good.
Where they were working, like troopers out there?
Yeah, no, I just said speed trap ahead.
Oh, okay.
Siri was.
Oh, you're like your
Yeah.
right ways, or your app said, yeah,
Yeah, I said there was a speed trap.
crash ahead, or,
Just slow down,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Keep it reasonable. Go ahead.
Hi, Sheriff. My name is Lori Rose. I'm one of the immediate neighbors up here. So back to really the topic at hand of this substation idea. I have a lot of support for the town having more space and acquiring that property and moving the town hall up there. But I am deeply concerned about additional uses that are not compatible with our residential neighborhood, that have hours that are much more extensive than the town hall's hours, that possibly bring additional light and traffic and noise. This part of town has the most families and young kids in it, as far as I'm aware of any part of the Virgin. And it's quiet, dark, it's peaceful, and I'm really concerned about how this type of use, fire station, same thing, how that would impact our community. Little residential neighborhood here, established, affordable, family-friendly neighborhood.
Yeah, so I don't see any negative impact, honestly. So the reality is, if we're looking at contract time, it's like 8 hours a week, $15,000 a year. And that space, it's not gonna be like, we're not gonna use it 24 hours a day. So in a 30-day period, you might see a patrol car parked there 5 or 6 times. So what we're focusing on that contract time is not sitting in an office. We want to be visibly out in the community, enforcing speed on SR9, patrolling the neighborhoods to make sure there's a visible presence, checking businesses after hours. So like our night shift, it's routine that we would go in, businesses are shut down, we're gonna go into a business check, make sure doors are locked. If we have alarms going off, we have that presence quite readily available. So I don't see, we're talking about lights or traffic, I don't see an impact. We're not gonna be asking for additional lighting. I don't anticipate, but rare occasion, maybe once a month, a citizen meeting up with us over there. It's not, Virgin doesn't have luckily, you live in a safe community, and we don't, even with our patrol time, we're looking on average just barely, so out of 365 days a year, we have 400 actual calls for service. So just barely over 1 call per day, so it's not gonna have a big impact on your community. I see the benefit of maybe quicker response times and the visible presence to, if a deputy needs to use the restroom or grab lunch, that car would be in that parking space for the community to see.
Yes, sir. So it's not about just Virgin calls, this is inside of the county. This is all the activity going up Canyon towards Zion National Park, out in Apple Valley, everything coming back here as a central landing point. It's not just Virgin's activity.
Okay.
And that's where I see it really increasing a lot of what could happen here, and you're put in the door and you've got an office space and a place, and I just see this as not compatible with our neighborhood.
Okay, well, disagree with that, but that's okay. We do have, almost 400 million people going to Zion every year on SO9, so you do get that impact, and,
Not in my neighborhood.
yeah, but we're talking one marked patrol car, not a bus of tourists coming through. So I get your point, I respect that, I don't see that being a concern. Like most small towns, like, there's a saying, like, if we stop growing, we die, right? If we stop growing, we die, so your responsibility is to grow and be able to manage it, right? You've got to have the growth, but you can't have it sprout out all at once and have a huge community impact. I agree with that perspective and that balanced approach to growth, and I know this body has a lot of big decisions that impact, contractors and businessmen versus what the community needs and wants are.
I have a comment,
Go
okay.
ahead,
So, I've lived here for a long time, my whole life,
okay?
and, when I hear you talk about criminal activity in this community that I've grown up in, it's a little bit offensive that, that we're all criminals here, bad guys that need a patrol car to come patrol.
I'm not saying that at all.
But that is the feeling that I get when I'm gonna know that there's a police presence here.
Yeah,
Years ago, we tried to start a neighborhood watch. And the community, the whole town, didn't want it. So I have a feeling that it might be a good idea to start a little smaller. And, if we're interested in having some more presence, let's watch. Let's keep an eye on each other, which we do.
right.
That's just a thought.
No, that's okay. I just to correct that, so I'm not accusing maybe a bunch of criminals. My state is actually just the opposite of that. You live in a very safe community where we have a very low level of crime to the tune of just barely over one call a day throughout the entire year, right? And most of those are look like more nuisance stuff, like animal problems or a citizen assist or a 911 hang-up. So burglaries are rare up here, so if you live in a safe community, and I don't want anyone to feel like I was accusing Bergen of being a high crime area or that the community is not good law-abiding citizens.
Can I share an example of this recently?
Sure.
It's all probably gonna happen up here.
Everybody knows Lieutenant Cross, so happens to be a Virgin resident, so you've got some insight.
So the girls' home up here, we've had lots of problems with them lately. The whole point of it, having been on patrol, both of us for many years, we really look for that opportunity when we're in the area, when the call for service comes out. Especially one like when these guys are essentially rioting up here at the girls' camp. And they had like 5 of them, they're breaking windows and they ended up running away and all this stuff. I don't know how many people know that. It's a big deal. Luckily, it's very helpful for our deputies to be right here. And they were able to get right on top of these kids, and so that's the whole point, is having an officer here, giving them an opportunity to be here in the community. I don't know, I would like to understand, I guess, where you're coming from, thinking that this is gonna draw in a lot of activity or something that we don't want here in the middle of town. I don't know where you're coming with that.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I can
She would like to say
say
something.
something, might help ease a little bit of this, if you could clarify.
Okay,
The presence here, it is putting it here as a presence, but you're still a county unit.
yes,
So it's not just gonna respond to only our city. It's gonna respond to anything that would be up on the mesa. It would respond to anything that might go over Gooseberry or anywhere right here in this county
Yeah.
area, right?
Yep.
How far does that outreach go that this office would
well,
reach
so
out to?
to be fair, and with the town of Virgin, if the deputy goes outside of the town of Virgin, we're not counting that time towards our contract time. So the second
Right.
that he leaves the Virgin town limits, then he's basically off the clock and we're not billing you for that. But if we get a fire at Polob Road, we can get up there quick. If Springdale needs a backup, or if we got an issue in Zion National Park, so.
It shortened response time to
Absolutely.
this area by having you in this location.
Yes,
So it's not just a presence in Virgin. It's just a presence that will help out this part, bring an officer closer to us.
Yeah, and I was probably at least a dozen times a year, I have patrol deputies that get on scene before medical and end up saving someone's life.
And that's
We
usually.
have
what we get.
AEDs, we have first aid kits.
Yeah.
Narcan if it's an overdose for all the fentanyl we're seeing in Washington
So by
County.
presence, you're not necessarily meaning criminal activity.
Correct,
We are-
yeah.
We are a little bit of a small.
Yeah.
community. So it actually is because of the medical calls, we could give a faster response.
Yes, that would be part of it. And just to let you know, like the culture of the sheriff's office and what I expect my deputies to do. We're not stormtroopers. We are not out to like try and generate revenues for speeders and all that. I teach them that we are more community and citizen oriented than stormtrooper just wanting to enforce and write everybody a ticket. And they all know that. So every one of my deputies has a gas can in their pickup bed, a tire jack. And when I see those calls where I have a deputy helps an elderly couple change a tire, or you run out of gas and you need to go a few miles to get to the gas station, I love seeing that. That's the highlight of my day, seeing stuff like that. So the presence is important. Like I said earlier, we never know how many crimes we prevented just by being there. It is a deterrent. But yeah, I just so you know, that's the culture that I kind of created, that we're not out to just target citizens and write a ticket for every silly little thing you want.
Will
If
you
you're
share
really
that
just-
with the Springdale Police Department?
Well, and I was around when you had that, so Springdale, you contracted with them, you're paying them almost $80,000 a year, just write a check. And then they wanted to up it to $100,000 a year, and they wanted the revenues off the citations in the town of Virgin on SR9. So the reason they sat here and wrote everybody's speeding tickets is because they were doing exactly what I just said I'm not in favor of. Stormtrooper mentality of law enforcement just wanted to write everybody up to generate revenue. That's exactly what they were doing.
Well, that's why I mentioned.
So, there's a balance there, right? Because you guys don't want people doing 100 miles an hour on SR9, right? So it is a balance, but I would say our threshold, we're a little bit more tolerant. We're much more on the citizen and community side, and we're just not out here to gouge everybody, so.
Great.
I just want to clarify, my concerns have nothing to do with the presence.
Okay.
And I think it makes all sorts of sense for any of the communities in contract with you to have a presence. And I understand how a car will be in our area, and it may be up in Rockville, it might be in Springdale, it might be around the valley, and that's where it is, and doing its work. I'm not concerned about anybody being aggressive and over policing in our community. I'm concerned about my neighborhood having the increased traffic and 24/7, because it's your job is a 24/7 job. And so it's just, it's a change in our little residential neighborhood that I'm very protective of, that I'm concerned about. I don't have any problem with the sheriff's department, I don't have any problem with what you do. I like seeing your marked cars when they come through town.
I don't.
Except I just don't feel comfortable with this base where people, the cars coming and going, and sometimes people are coming to do whatever they're gonna do there, and it's a little residential neighborhood, and a couple of the neighbors that are immediately right there couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And it's a concern for more than just me.
My take on it is you will see zero impact, so I don't know where the increased traffic would be coming from, other than maybe a few hours a month, you might see a patrol car parked there, and maybe 4 or 5 times a year, it might be convenient for a citizen to meet us there instead of our main office by the DMV. Outside of that, you're not gonna see a big change, it's not gonna be a big overburdened amount of traffic, I just don't see that.
Sheriff, to that end, like if you did go on an emergency call and you needed to run out, you wouldn't put your lights on until you.
Or
get
your
to the
siren
highway or
right
your sirens,
there.
right?
With
No, well, first, the time we're gonna spend there is gonna be very minimal.
Right,
And, I mean, I can't say that, no, it could happen, because if it's an emergency call, there's a reason there's a reason we turn our lights and sirens on, is because the clock's ticking and it's exigent circumstance. It could be, you know, somebody being beaten up in a domestic violence situation. It could be a medical where seconds count. If I've got a 10-second window to give you Narcan and I don't make it there in time, there's
We're
some
just saying,
factors.
we're just saying,
But-
you wouldn't turn on your lights and siren right there at the church, you'd wait. till
No,
you
we're not
get
gonna get on 9,
Right, and that's
but we're running code on 9.
Right, code on 9
anyways,
is fine,
so-
that's, I was just clarifying that
yeah.
it wouldn't add a lot of noise and lights and.
No,
Because you're just gonna
I,
get up to the highway and we have that anyway.
And
Yeah.
then the other thing is that I am assuming that we can always just give this a try, and if it doesn't work, we
Yeah.
cancel it. Okay.
yeah, if it becomes problematic, then we'll have no beef. I mean, I look at it as kind of a favor to us, but I think that there is some return to the community. But the gift to us is, you guys are buying space, we'll be able to utilize it. Yeah, we'll probably have to put some desks and a computer and maybe a couch in there or something. But it's not a big expense to us, but it's a convenience for the deputies not having to run back to the office. If they need a bathroom break, it's a convenience to have a bathroom break close by. I just don't see that there's gonna be an impact, and if it does become an issue, like the mayor said, then it's worse and. Yeah, but we're here 8 hours a week anyways, whether, you know, in the neighborhood, so we are getting that visibility. I think the space is just more of a convenience for the community and for my deputies. So if you're a victim of a crime and you don't have to go all the way to the office to fill out a witness statement or be interviewed, and we can do that in a, I'd say, safe or comfortable environment here without having you to make that drive in town, it is a benefit to the community. Go ahead.
I have some clarifying questions, one of which is, if this doesn't work, you know, can we back out? And you already answered that.
Yeah.
So, how often do you think there would be nighttime use of that building when it would be closed?
The only
Would that
time
be-
I think it would be used at night would be honestly, likely probably just a bathroom break.
All right, so the officers would have keys, is that the understanding?
Yeah, so we looked at it, so it would be kind of our own space that we would have access to, of course. If the city employees needed to get in that space, they'd have some.
And then my other question is, since we are giving up some space in our new building,
Mhm.
do we get an increase in the number of hours?
I'm not entering into the lease or doing that. I promise you that $15,000 a year. So I
Can
can,
we be assured of the 10 hours at least?
no.
You said 8 to 10 hours.
Well, I think that this is off the top of my head, so I believe the current contract is like 8 hours a week, it's $15,000. We're doing an adjustment because we haven't looked at it, I think, since like 2019. Inflation's real, most of my employees just in the last 3 years have received at least a $10 an hour pay increase, just to keep up with the market in law enforcement. But I am taking a loss at the rate I'm charging the city. It costs me more to provide that service, but because you all pay property taxes and my budget comes out of the general fund, which is where property taxes go. I feel okay that out of my sheriff's office budget, I'm taking a hit because you guys are already paying that portion.
Well, please consider as you
You're a
reconsider.
great negotiator.
And you're saving time,
Yeah.
you're saving gas.
Gas.
And that should factor in.
My insurance rate gonna come way down.
This rate should stay the same for those reasons.
Yeah, we do a five-year, that about every 3 to 5 years.
But we didn't have a.
Okay, Paul is next.
Yeah,
Paul is first.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I
You
was
said you
gonna,
wanted to probably,
I was gonna ask a question, but I think Misty covered it. And I thought Lori's concern was partly the cold and the lights. I've worked with.
quiet, hey.
I worked with, police for most of my working life. And I love neighborhood police, policing, I love substations. I think when they get in, the neighbors don't want it to leave.
if I would assume that if there's an issue with traffic and noise, because I'm very sensitive to this downtown.
Yeah.
Area, this area down here in the residence, that I found that most sheriffs and most police chiefs are very concerned about that, and they will take those things seriously, and I assume you will too, if there
Yeah,
is.
so from my, I like being the sheriff because I get to make those decisions and don't. Anyway, so I can put out a directive and say, hey, if you're at the substation and you get an emergency call, you're not to turn your lights or siren on until you hit SR number. One other, I assume you're on the north of the LDS church on the north side? Your house?
I'm just right over here on
Okay.
the south, so I'm just
Just so-
100 feet this way.
Just so everyone's aware where that car would likely be parking on what entrance and part of the building. So we'd be on the very southeast corner of the building, so likely the patrol vehicle would be parked on the south end. Where across the street you have the vacant lot, the town.
And my animals.
And your
at my
animals,
house.
okay.
No, that's right.
On the south side though?
Yeah, that's directly in
Southeast.
line,
She's on the
from my
south.
house.
Okay.
She's
I can
south
see it
end.
right on my living
I guess-
room,
I guess there's a little bit more of a buffer than there would be if we're talking about a residence on the north
so.
side.
Speak for yourself.
I don't see
see
the,
that corner from my living room and my dining table. So I'm very,
Yeah,
one thing as far as on behalf of the town goes, you mentioned something about how that 8 to 10 hours would be sorted out when the deputies in town versus when they're elsewhere.
Mhm.
And if they're having to come back here for downloading their body camera or writing a report or something like that, it seems important that you negotiate something with the town council so they understand what they're being billed for, counting against their 8 or 10 hours. And when that person's in Virgin and it doesn't count against us.
Yeah.
Just because that person's going to the office in Virgin doesn't mean that they're patrolling in Virgin.
Right.
So I think that needs to be clear. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Because
well,
it's.
so that's what.
Right.
Okay, oh,
So we used to it used to be hard, so the software system we use isn't very user friendly. So we didn't really have a good way to run a report, so the last few years, what we do is, the second the deputy crosses into the town, limits, he lets dispatch know, dispatch creates a call. So that's one of the 350 plus calls that have been open for an extra patrol call, specific to the town of Virgin, and we have them for, again, Apple Valley, Pocatello, and some other smaller communities. And then when they leave, they let dispatch know that they're done, or if they get sent to a priority call, that new call will pop up and it'll drop them off the Virgin town time. So if it's outside of the town of Virgin, so we can have a call log to see exactly what calls that deputy was on and the time that they were dispatched outside of the area. That makes sense?
Only partially, because what about when they come in, if they come in from, having been up in Springdale or Rockville, and they need to download their camera and do a report, and so they stop off at the substation, they call into dispatch, as you just said, and they say,
It's
okay,
just
I'm in,
over the radio.
right, but I'm in Virgin, and
that's not gonna,
that's
apply toward their patrol here in town.
Yeah,
That's not gonna apply,
That's.
it's not.
not what
it's just not.
this-
I feel like we've done the best way possible to be able to track those hours to have a high level of confidence that you're getting billed for exactly what you're receiving for that.
You've got to go on.
And there could be times where I could have more than one deputy, and I'm not charging you double. Right, if we get a hot call, if we go to Family Five Virgin, there's at least 2 deputies who are gonna go to that type of call. If we get a DUI arrest in the town of Virgin, there's gonna be at least 2 deputies at that call, so it's a little bit of give and take, right? I'm gonna be fair and upfront with you guys.
Okay, we have got to get on, well, I'll have one more question, and then we've got to get on with our town council meeting, because we're going over time.
I'll be quick. Thank you for the questions, and not that I even really need like a response to this or anything, it's just like comment, you know. I'm one of like the families with the small kids that live just right here, so kids are always, you know, biking up by the park and all the things, so. Really, one of my biggest concerns was the traffic, the lights, the cars coming in and out, you know. I don't really feel like, obviously, we're like a newer family to the neighborhood, and we moved up here because it's quiet, there's no traffic, there's nothing like that. That's literally one of the only reasons that we moved up here, so. That's one of my bigger concerns, which right now, honestly, I don't, from listening to, I don't know that that's a huge concern right now. From what you're saying with the having only one car there, or 7 guys on duty per day, you know. It sounds great to have like the presence and stuff. In a perfect world, I would love to have a building out on SR9 for you guys, you know, something that's not right here in our neighborhood,
Right.
it's still close, you know. But my concern is in 5 years, are you still only gonna have 7 guys on? And I hear what you're saying with the like, okay, if it doesn't work, then we can always reevaluate, but like, will we, you know, like, how do we really, as the residents, get the concerns out there and have everybody really listen? I feel like it's a lot harder later, and I feel like sometimes it's not heard later when it's not working, to be like, oh, well, it's already here, and we're already, like you said, we're just growing and growing, so I just don't see it staying at like one car here and there
Yeah.
in 5 years, you know?
Well, I do, again, credit to the council, the managed growth, that you guys are taking a good approach. I'll give an example, and like I said up front, I'm never gonna start anything you don't need, and it's truly an à la carte approach that we're gonna evaluate it on a yearly basis. Tokerville is about to explode in housing, commercial, churches, schools, truck stops. So I know in working with Tokerville that in 3 to 5 years, they're gonna have to get real serious about having a full-time deputy in their community because of all the growth they have. I don't see that in my career for the town of Virgin. I think it's gonna be really evaluated. I think with the call volume of just over 1 call a day and some proactive patrol, I think Virgin's gonna be just fine the way it is for the rest of my career, which is about 6 years.
As long as it just
But,
doesn't.
yeah. But just so you know, that's, yeah, that's my approach. I don't wanna make money off you, I'm
Yeah,
taking a
come
loss.
microphone.
We will evaluate it annually. If we see a need for an increase, all we have to do is up those contract
Is
hours.
this gonna be something that's like ever voted on? No?
Well, well, the town council will decide if we're gonna have a sheriff substation in the town hall. We'll be deciding that,
Yeah, and then the patrol hours is a budgetary item, so.
right?
But we are having those conversations, and again, just with Tokerville and with Virgin, if you had a $4,000 home development coming in, you need to start prioritizing for the future, but I don't see, you don't have anything that big coming to the town of Virgin, right?
No.
Like Tokerville is.
No. Thank
When
you.
you start adding more RV parks, truck stops, our calls will increase, so. Okay, thanks for your time, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And nobody asked me what my favorite color is, I'm a little.
Okay, so since the camera is only working for my laptop.
I just need to make sure we speak into here and speak loud.
Well, it's not just that, it's the people we have online. We have 12 people online. And I try to decide if I want to put it up there so they can see the town council or it's the video. They can hear us. It's the
Yeah.
video. All they see is what my computer sees. So I'm trying to decide if they want to see the town council, I've got to go put the camera, I gotta go put my laptop somewhere else.
Probably the speakers for now.
The speakers? Okay, all right. Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and, hey, you guys back there in the corner? You guys go outside.
Thank you.
Bye.
I can take a hit.
Take a hint, okay. Okay, so we've got an issue here with, you know what? Bring me the Zoom. Oh, no, that one's still running. Is it still waiting for a password? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm gonna make an announcement that that's what I'm gonna do so that people know. Okay, so for those of you 12 people that are online, if you guys would just stay there, I'm going to disconnect this. This is running on my laptop and my laptop has almost out of battery. It's not going to last the whole meeting. So I need to switch to a different computer that's running this and we'll come back. So you guys just hang out.